Hello, it's Nick here from Vegans Be the Change on Sunday, the 15th of December 2019, with just a roundup of the vegan news from the past 7 days or so. Um, just over 7 days ago, Sainsbury's announced that they are rolling out 31 new vegan products under the Plant Pioneers brand name, and that'll be out on the very beginning of the new year. And in response to the Future of Food report that they published a while ago, they can see which way the wind's blowing, and they're really going for the plant food as much as they can. And Tesco's made a very similar move just over a month ago, and they're both looking to be leaders in this area. And interestingly enough, this week saw the issue of Vegan Food and Living's big vegan survey. And one of the things that came out was that vegans' favourite supermarket, there's pretty much a tie between Tesco's and Sainsbury's. So yeah, they've got all to play for, and I'm sure they'll make a lot of money out of this new market. The big vegan survey stated that Wagamama's comes out in the UK as probably the vegans' favourite eating out venue. 75% of people who went vegan in the last 5 years. 75% of the vegans have gone vegan in the last 5 years. So it's a new trend. I think we all could have guessed that. And the number one reason, about 71% of people gave for their main reason for turning vegan, was animal welfare concerns. But that is changing. The health concerns and environmental concerns have shown an increase recently. But the main reason is animal welfare, but it's changing, it seems. We profiled a Hungarian company called Plantcraft Innovation, and they just raised $150 million in venture capital to take their foods into the USA, and they have a range of delicatessen-style foods: Hungarian salami, pate, pepperoni, and ham. And they've been working with a lab in Berlin and the Central European University. And they've created something which they call second-generation meat substitutes. They found some fairly unique ways of producing that, and I, for one, am really looking forward to tasting that because Hungarian salami is something that I used to absolutely love. So the fact that there's a vegan version being prepared by a Hungarian company, on a personal level, that's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to trying that one out. Unilever have just announced an €85 million investment into a food innovation centre at the Wageningen campus in the Netherlands, in a building called the Hive, which is part of something locally which is known as Food Valley. Obviously a nod to Silicon Valley, but it's an area of a lot of food innovation, sustainable food innovation, with an emphasis on plant-based research. So Unilever and all their various brands should be bringing out more plant-based products in the not too distant future. McDonald's have just announced in the UK, just in time for Veganuary, a vegan meal. First time they're going to introduce a fully vegan meal, veggie dippers. It's not, they haven't introduced a vegan burger, and let's face it, McDonald's is about the burger experience. So they've still got a little way to go, but that is a new thing that they've brought out. So they're getting more immersed in the plant-based revolution. Perfect Day, the biotech company from California, they've just announced a £140 million round of finance, and they use a special fermentation process to produce their plant dairy. So they have produced what they call the world's first properly vegan ice cream, because they produced their product with proteins that are essentially they're nutritionally identical to cow's milk, but obviously there are no cows involved. So they've got some more money to beef up, excuse the pun, their production process, and maybe we'll get to taste that ice cream sometime soon. There's been a very, very interesting and a quite aggressive marketing campaign by the meat industry, put out by a PR outfit called the Centre for Consumer Freedom. And it's very, very interesting. They've put out full page ads in the New York Times, Washington Examiner, Los Angeles Times, full page ads basically saying how awful plant-based meat is, and saying it's ultra processed and that they use chemicals that you find in e-cigarettes and laxatives and slug pesticides and so on. And one of the ads, they actually compared plant-based burgers to dog food. It's amazing. I mean, if you can eat a burger, then you've got a choice in a meat burger and a plant-based burger. Then let's face it, they're neither of them a kale salad, are they? But it's interesting because it does show a certain amount of uncertainty in the meat industry. Because on the one hand, you've got people like Smithfield Foods, Tyson Foods. They're going into the plant-based meat sector. Vivera in the Netherlands, they've divested themselves of their meat division. Nestle are in the plant-based vegan thing, and a lot of meat companies are seeing the writing on the wall. So there's that one reaction: if you can't beat them, join them. And then here's a reaction with the meat industry just trying to slam plant-based food. So that was quite interesting. We did a feature this week on a German company called Einhorn, and they produce vegan condoms. Condoms aren't the sort of product one thinks of when one's looking to consider animal welfare and produce products that don't involve animals. But Einhorn are doing this. They're sourcing the plastics and so on in sustainable farms in Thailand. Very interesting company, so we wrote a piece about them. Then there was a very interesting stories about a little cartoon that the BBC put out in the run-up to Christmas, and it featured just a very short segment of some, not animations, but toys of turkeys. And there was a turkey there with a "I love vegans" thing spread all over his chest, and there was in a theatre looked at by a whole load of other turkeys, and he was saying that, pointing at meatless meals on a map on the board and saying how fewer turkeys have been slaughtered this year. And it was just a short little segment in a BBC cartoon, and of course it got slammed by the National Farmers Union. Excuse me, my cat's just come to join me. The National Farmers Union slammed it, saying that it was it was BBC anti-meat bias, anti-farm bias. Slightly hysterical reaction, but it just shows the extent to which the meat industry is very, very rattled by what's going on. So there was I thought was a pretty over-the-top hysterical reaction. There we go. It was an interesting story. Another item that happened this week is that an old donut shack on the iconic Brighton Pier is being converted into a 100% plant-based food takeaway outlet, and with restaurant space behind it too. So the Brighton Pier is going vegan. How about that? I'm sure all vegans have once upon a time had people come up with this argument that plants feel pain as well, don't they? Well, there was an interesting study by researchers at Tel Aviv University, which was published this week, saying that, and they were studying tomato plants and tobacco plants, and it was saying how those plants do actually emit some ultrasonic screams when they're under a certain amount of stress, and they're trying to look at how they might be able to look at plants and get some advanced warning of drought and things like that, and what they call precision farming. Anyway, it might be grist to the mill for the people who come up with this absurd notion that because plants feel pain, that somehow we're hypocrites, or vegans are hypocrites for eating plants. Plants don't have a central nervous system and so on and so forth. But it was just interesting because it didn't show they feel pain, but they react automatically to levels of stress. As a penultimate item, there was an interesting piece which I really enjoyed in the run-up to the general election in the UK. that the Labour Party were really focusing on a marginal constituency, Chingford, and this was held by Ian Duncan Smith, the seat, and they were looking to unseat him. Marginal constituency, possibly. And so there was an influx of Labour Party activists, young Labour Party activists, into Chingford, and it caused Greggs to run out of vegan sausage rolls, and it ran out repeatedly. And one of the reasons, there's a bit of tradition there, that the candidate had actually, the Labour Party candidate had once upon a time worked at that Greggs, so it was a bit of a tradition that they all go there. But the fact that all the Labour Party activists piled in there, and all they wanted to eat there was the vegan sausage rolls, and they ran out and couldn't keep up the demand. I thought that was quite amusing. Finally, I just wanted to mention a couple of stories to do with social media and the power of social media and the way it focuses people's attentions on certain things. There was one young lady who just had a huge following, and she'd been doing all sorts of vegan things, and a huge Instagram following, huge YouTube following, and she did an about turn and suddenly decided that she wanted to do the 30-day carnivore challenge. So there's nothing more, I think, than the mainstream love than a fallen vegan, and the huge amount of articles on this and Mickey taking. Clearly the world loves a fallen vegan. It's great news copy for them. But what was staggering was the amount of articles and how widespread this went, and this went all over the world. And I'm fairly certain that here's another person who does things by the extremes. She once went a year without using deodorant and all sorts of things. She does things by extremes, and I'm fairly certain that a lot of these YouTubers who do things like this, they don't necessarily have a nutritious diet. And so now she's full of the wonders of eating meat. So she's on this 30-day thing of only eating animal products and nothing else, and saying how wonderful she feels. Well, it's just a reaction to how obviously malnourished she had been. And now here she is, she got links, and she's trying to make money out of promoting grass-fed proper beef and so on. To me it's a non-story, but it's staggering, the outreach of this, the number of people that follow her, that fawn on her every word, and of course there's huge backlash and how upset people are. And the mainstream press love this kind of thing. It's been a huge story. It's a huge story for something that is, in the big scheme of things, really insignificant, in my opinion. And then another social media story this week was outside Sydney Town Hall, the organisation Anonymous for the Voiceless, and they did a cube of truth, a very powerful, simple, direct action protest that they do all over the world. And they were doing one outside the town hall in Sydney, and there was some guy just turned up. He was standing about 15 feet away from them, and he was eating Kentucky Fried Chicken out of a KFC box. And two people just decided, they did a 10-second video of this. And all it is this bloke looking bored out of his mind, eating these chicken wings or whatever. Whether he was looking at this protest or not, I don't know. But the two people who did the video thought it's hilarious. And all you can hear is them giggling. And they uploaded this 10-second video to TikTok, the new, comparatively new short-form video social media site. And again, this thing has been seen, it's been written about all over the world, from New York to London to Australia, mainstream press. And I counted 380,000 views on a lot of those papers, and 250,000 TikTok views. It's huge. Absolutely huge. It's just, again, the world's attention on trivial things through social media. It's mind-blowing. I didn't think it was particularly funny. That's just me. And I just wish that a fraction of the attention went on what was really fundamentally a nothing story, were to be the attention put on the cube of truth and what they're trying to point out about the reality of animal farming and suffering. Anyhow, it's just me on a little rant about social media and how it's incredibly powerful sometimes, but sometimes it really is quite inane. So there we go. That's our news roundup for the week. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you again soon. Bye.